This week on the Retirement Quick Tips podcast, I'm talking about how to pay for college before your child ever sets foot on a college campus. The goal is, without sacrificing your own retirement, minimize student loans or zero student loans if you can swing that. And so I am talking this week about various ways to help bridge that gap so you do not have to take out any student loans if you can help it. I haven't talked yet about saving and investing because many of you listening don't have a newborn or even a toddler or a kindergartner, because that is the ideal time. The 0 to age 5 window is when you really need to start saving for college if you hope to pay for most or all of it out of pocket without student loans, without relying on scholarships. Many parents, though, they're not saving or saving enough in the early years. And so I don't want to focus too much on saving and investing, but I do want to touch on that. And that's what I'm going to do today. So I want to share with you how I'm paying for college for my kids, and hopefully all of it. We'll see based on how much growth I get out of the accounts. But my goal is that my kids can go to any reasonably priced financial institution, and I will have been able to save and invest enough so that they don't have to worry about taking on mountains of student loans. It is also my favorite way to save for college for most people. I'd say 9 out of 10 people. I'll talk about the maybe 1 or 2 out of 10 option tomorrow, but that is a 529 plan. Again, you have to start early to really capitalize on the growth and have it pay off. But let me just go over these briefly. Some of you are familiar with them. Hopefully you have one for your child. But there are so many benefits and very few drawbacks that really make them ideal for saving for college. The first major benefit of a 529 college savings plan is you can think of them like a Roth IRA, but for college. So you put money in the account in the 529. Once it's in the account, it grows tax-free. And as long as it's used for college or other education expenses, it doesn't just have to be used for like a traditional 4-year university. It can be used for vocational schools, trade schools, all kinds of different programs. The list for what a 529 covers as a quote qualified education expense, the list is very, very long. So as long as you use it for a covered education expense, the withdrawals are also tax-free. So you get tax-free growth, tax-free withdrawals to use it for education. And because these accounts grow tax-free, you really want to start saving early. As I talked about yesterday, if you start saving in a 529 plan at birth and you set aside $275 a month and it grows at 6%, which is pretty modest every year, you're going to cover most or all of college. If you're looking at what an average college costs, that includes living expenses, books, tuition, everything. And so I have 4 kids to put through college. Maybe, maybe not. I talked about, do they even need to go to college? I'm not going to necessarily push my kids in that direction. My soon-to-be 8-year-old, he's starting 2nd grade in the fall. The way his mind works and the way he likes to tinker with things, maybe he would be interested in some type of engineering. But I see him doing something with his hands, and he absolutely loves cars. So maybe he should really look seriously at being a mechanic, in which case he wouldn't need to go to a 4-year university. He can do something specialized that is going to set him up for success in that. But anyways, I cannot rely on scholarships. I can't rely on special athletic skills. I'm biased, so I think my kids are decently smart. Most of the time, they do some pretty dumb stuff, but they have decent brains. So we've been setting aside money every month for over a decade. My 11-year-old, we've actually stopped saving in her 529 a few years ago, and now we're relying on growth. And with still 7 years to go before actually 8 years, I think, before she starts college, we have a lot of time to hopefully see that tax-free growth work in our favor. The other big benefit of the 529 college savings plan is the high contribution limits. You can put up to $500,000 in these accounts in some cases, which is really helpful if you want to go to an elite school, if you want to get an advanced degree, like a medical degree or a law degree or something like that. Another little known benefit and a common misconception about 529s is that it doesn't really have a lot of impact on your financial aid. Now, some people will shun the 529. They say, oh, well, if I have all this money for college, then I can't get financial aid. It's like, well, I'd rather have a bunch of money saved up for college than try to get financial aid or student loans or grants or things like that. But according to savingforcollege.com, 529 plans are a parental asset, and it only counts up to 5.64% for financial aid calculations. And so it's more advantageous compared to other types of accounts like custodial accounts, which I'll talk about tomorrow a little bit. But anything unused from a 529, so let's say that you're like the 1% of people who have too much in a 529 and that didn't get spent, 99% of people have too little. It's not enough to cover and they still need to figure out another solution or take out loans, etc. But if you have money left over, if you're like that big, beautiful white unicorn, you can roll that over to a Roth IRA. So unused 529s can be seed money for their retirement, which is pretty cool. But you can only roll over $35,000. That's the lifetime maximum into a Roth from a 529. So just keep that in mind. Also, they're really easy to set up, contribute, manage. If for many of you, it takes a few minutes because you can do it all online. You can start funding it, etc. It's not that burdensome. 529 plans, as I mentioned, they have very few downsides. Among them, though, are the taxes and penalties if you don't use them as intended for education. The other downside of 529s is the limited investment options. Now, one of the quirks of these plans is how they're offered. So they're typically offered at the state level. Each state might only work with one or two different mutual fund companies. So if you don't like the mutual fund company that your state plan uses, you actually don't need to go to that state's plan. I don't really like the Oregon 529 plan options. I live in Oregon. My kids, all four of my kids, are actually through another state. So just keep that in mind. I think most people don't realize it. They think, oh, if you live in Oregon, you have to use the Oregon plan, just like any other state. No, go to whichever state you like. Now, you might miss out on some small tax deductions, but in my situation, I've weighed that against the garbage options that I don't like in my state, and I decided I'll forego that potential tax benefit to get a better investment vehicle. So if you have at least a few years before college, you can really benefit from that tax-free growth. The 529 plan is something to consider. All right, that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Ashley Michike, and this is the Retirement Quick Tips Podcast.